Legacy of the Forge is adding a solid body of content to KCD 2, and I think most of you guys will very much enjoy it. And I say that not by means of assumption or guesswork, or simply because I like the game myself. No, I was able to play a demo of Legacy of the Forge at Gamescom, and afterwards I got to talk to Warhorse Studios' own communications director, who we all know by his handle Sir Tobi, and he gave me an expert's look into the second DLC for the game. So what I want to do here in this video is I want to break down and give you some of the key takeaways and also give you my personal impression. And this is also the point where I have to give out a spoiler alert, because even though I'm trying to give you an overall impression, of course, with some of the details, I can't fully avoid giving out some spoilers here. So if you want to discover the DLC just for yourself, don't watch this video. And it feels very counterintuitive for me to say that, but I don't want anyone, even though I think, the title and the thumbnail, etc., you get the impression what this video is going to tell you, but I don't want anyone afterwards saying like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have seen that, be able to discover that for myself. So here it is, spoiler alert. For full transparency, I got about 45 minutes of playtime with the demo and about 15 minutes with Sir Tobi. And while I think 45 minutes is enough to give you an overview of the contents and my first impression, I don't think it's enough for a full review, especially not about the storyline. So that's something for a later video, just so you know what you're getting from this one. That being said, let's go. In very broad strokes, you can divide Legacy of the Forge into three categories, if you will. One, more story-driven content with the same attention to quality in writing and gameplay execution that I think most players at this point will have as a expected quality level for KCD2. Two, the opportunity to give Henry a place to call home by adding a gameplay system that's essentially player housing. And three, lots of quality of life improvements and small gameplay additions that are based on community feedback. But let's first look at the story content, which again can, I guess, be divided into two groups. First, we have the main story, where Henry finds out more about what role Martin played in Kudenberg, about his old forge, and this will lead to Henry being able to take over the forge, restore it, and start his own shop. You'll also meet certain individuals that will join Henry's forge, and very clinically, I guess you can label them as your crew, but they'll be more like a new family for Henry. Now, I haven't seen any details from this at the demo, so it'll be very interesting to see if and how Henry can form a bond with these people. Now, the other story content comes from all the new quests that are linked to Henry becoming an established blacksmith in town. Now, some of these quests are one-offs, so you do them once and then you never see them again, and others are repeatable. The repeatable quests are small, so think along the lines of forging a sword for someone, and these quests are here for the purpose of immersion, so you can really roleplay like a blacksmith and having these jobs and errands around town, and they're all centered around blacksmithing as a profession. Now, the one-offs explore your journey in building up a reputation as blacksmith, and all these quests, so both the repeatable ones and the one-offs put together, increase a new skill called Prestige. Prestige defines your reputation as a blacksmith, and the higher your level, the more crafting options it unlocks, and more customization options will be available for the forge. And when I say forge, I mean not just the actual forge itself, but also the buildings on your new property. Which brings us to the player housing content. Now, at the forge, which is, as you can see, a real sizable plot of land, so with stables, a well, a common area, a workshop, a complete multi-story building where you also have your own private quarters. Like, it's not just a small hut with just a bed and a chest, and there's a really good amount of estate to work with. So at the forge, you first restore and then customize the main building, which is the two-story building you see here, and then the rest of the property. As you can see here as well, at the bottom it indicates how much prestige is required to purchase a certain finish or mural, for instance. Of course, the cherry on the cake for player housing in any game is always the option for interior decorating, and here we have a lot of options to choose from. I actually double checked, and if you look at the website, I think I can show you here. It's where it says, let's see, Legacy of the Forge, down here. And enabling a brand new home customization system with over 100 million combinations to personalize your fort. So obviously with that many combinations, which is an insane number, there's something in here for everyone. One important thing to mention, which we can also see in the footage here, is how the customization system works. Now, all items that can be customized have fixed locations or spots. So this is not a system where you just have full control over where to place items. Now, I was also told that most of the items that you have on your property are not just cosmetical, they are also functional. Now, I didn't have the time to test all of this, but most of it just serves a purpose, which is also a great attention to detail. Talking about details, this brings me to the quality of life additions and other gameplay improvements. Starting off with, you are now able to automatically sell some of the goods that you've made. So I haven't seen the details during the demo, but it basically negates a part of having to micromanage your inventory. There's going to be a chest where you can put in the items that you've made. So for now, I'm guessing this will just be swords, axes, and stuff like that. No regular items. And then at some point, those items will be sold. If NPCs drop by, if it's going to be like some sort of a market stand, I haven't seen or heard anything about that. So we have to wait for some details about that to see how that transpires. But just knowing that it's going to be less micromanaging your inventory, that's already great. But you might be thinking, okay, I'm going to be able to sell more stuff, get more groschen. One problem that I have, or you might have with KCD2, is the obscene amount of groschen you are probably carrying around at this point. So the entire DLC, with having the player housing and all the customization, it effectively offers you a money sink. Because there's going to be 100 million combinations and you can switch it up every now and then. I can actually show you right here. So when we're looking at this, let's see, old fort sign, ruined upper floor. So there's a couple of different options here. They are 1700, 1900, almost 2000 groschen a piece. Of course, you're only going to choose one, but there's going to be a lot of different things to improve on this house. And this is just the exterior, so there's also going to be the interior. So as you can imagine, it's quite easy to spend a lot of money quickly. So finally, you now have a way to get rid of that exorbitant amount sitting in your purse. There are also going to be some smaller improvements. Just to name a small example, people have been asking about certain elements of the HUD that are always very present on screen, if they would be able to disappear in a sense. So for example, if you're not switching between weapons, right now you can always see the little bar down at the bottom. So what they've done, that if you're not switching for X amount of time, it fades out. So that's a really nice improvement. Of course, if you want to take screenshots, you have the photo mode. But in general, when you're playing and you're just looking at the screen, there's less clutter, which is always very nice. Overall, I'm really impressed with what I've seen during the session, and it all looks to blend in with the rest of the game without any effort, as opposed to they try to create something that just doesn't seem to connect with the rest of the game. It's nothing like that. And I generally don't want to get ahead of myself before I'm able to put out a proper review based on more playtime. But from the first look, which already had quite some depth to it, I mean, you know, you have your customizable home with all the QL and other feedback being addressed through various improvements here. The overall impression I'm getting is that Legacy of the Forge is a very solid, good DLC on top of the base game. And I think Warhorse perfectly understands what KCD2's strengths are, but not taking the housing concept too far. And this way, it seems to just fit in with what the game is and what it isn't. You're getting about 15 to 20 hours of content out of the DLC, and of course that's dependent on your own pacing, but it comes free with the gold edition of the game or when you already have the expansion pass. And if you don't have either of those, the price for the DLC will be $13.99, which I think is very reasonable, seeing what the DLC brings to the table and how much playtime and enjoyment you can get out of it. So links to the website and Steam page will be down below. Thank you to Warhorse and Plaion for letting me check out Legacy of the Forge early and share my impression of it. like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Bye everyone.